actually a real thing that can be traversed with enough speed. And in order for time to exist, something timeless must have created it. Finally, there's something called the axiological view of God. I don't know if you know this one. Axios comes from the word, the Greek word judgment. Axios and judgment mean the same thing, which basically means that every human being has some form of right and wrong embedded in us. For example, when the Nuremberg trials were happening, the Nazis were not able to say, well, it was just the laws of the land. They actually appealed to a higher power, saying that every one of us had some good or evil within us.
Okay, so that doesn't, I mean, that kind of disproves, right? I mean, if the Nazis were able to point to something outside of themselves and say, hey, this is the reason why we're doing this.
They didn't. No, the point is the Nazis didn't. Is that the people doing the trial did, meaning the Nazis were not able to excuse that. Okay. So out of all those proofs of God, what if any of them are persuasive to you?
None.
None. Okay. So then what, if you look at a human being and you look at the improbability of our, how we are put together, do you believe that we are largely an accident of multi-billions of years of evolution?
Yes. How do we know? How do we not know that how do we know that there isn't something that's identical to us on another, planet somewhere that we haven't encountered yet? It's just a skeptic in me that's thinking that way. That says, hey, maybe there's something out there that we haven't contacted yet that is in another galaxy or another planet or something that we just don't know about.
Or maybe there isn't.
Okay.
So the improbability, though, of our existence and the Earth and oxygen and carbon and nitrogen and all of it together, you don't marvel at a human being being able to heal itself when it's cut or grow to a...
No, because we're not the only beings on Earth that can do that. There's a lot of people...
Well, we are the only ones that can reason, though.
Okay.
Do you marvel at our capacity to reason? And even the ability for mammals or reptiles to reproduce life, you don't see any intelligent design behind it.
None.
You just see it as
it's a consequence of natural selection and evolution over millions of years.
So we both have faith.
Okay.
I would argue you have a lot more faith than I do. You have a lot more blind faith to believe that everything around you, love, joy, peace, sadness, is all just a construct of neurons firing in your brain.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So do you believe that we are just limited to our five senses?
No, I think even scientists said that there could be like a sixth sense of...
What is that sixth sense?
Like a sixth sense that can be aware of what's surrounding the body. That, like, I can know that there's another person next to me, or there's a microphone in front of me. I can sense that. I don't need to have my eyes... I could be blind and I could still know that was there. I mean, I didn't need... I use more than five senses. Scientists told us that for decades, that we have...
What do you think happens when you die?
Nothing. Our electronic impulses just stop firing and
let me ask you the most important question.
Okay.
Do you hope you're wrong?
Not really.
We didn't buzz anybody. I get it.
No, I mean, I've got...
So you don't desire an afterlife?
I consider this life, as an atheist, the more compelling than even when I was younger and when I was religious, because I think that this is the only life we have. If we need to do with it what we can, the best that we can do it, and it's, like I said, it's just the one chance we got. We don't have any afterlife. We don't have anything after that. So our goal is to become the best people that we can possibly be in that one chance that we get.
Okay, I will be stunned. So you hope that there's no eternal judgment and you never see your loved ones after you die?
No, not really.
I hope you all internalize just how dark that is, how sad that is. And it's fine, I'm not trying to criticize you. We as Christians have hope that we are going to see our loved ones again, and that we will be in heaven, and that we will be in perfect peace, and that this is not it. In fact, there's something even better awaiting us. So I hope one day that you do seek to find something higher and better, that this is not all for us in our existence. Thank you so much.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Special privilege or what?
Hi, I have to film this, so can I give my friend my phone after I ask? Okay, thank you. So with the rise of like red pill content creators, such as like men like Nick Fuentes or Andrew Tate, you know.
Modern Renaissance man.
Well, what is your opinion on Gen Z men idolizing these influencers and influencers like them. And as yourself are a conservative influencer in some way, do you think that they're like them and their followers are justified in what I would say extreme beliefs? Because they can tend to skew to an extremity. But do you think that they are justified? And even then, with those beliefs, do you think that in a way they are tainting other people's view of the conservative community?
It's a good question. Look, I have a great heart for young men that have grown up in a toxically feminine society that has told them that it's a problem that they exist and that they don't understand anything about male human development. They don't understand anything about what a 13, 14, or 15-year-old boy needs, how they grow, how they're largely immature and hyper-physical, and they know nothing about actually how to turn boys into men. The large, basically the pedagogical monopoly, which means just pedagogy, educational monopoly, has no idea how to turn boys into men. To your question, I mean, we actually have a larger following base versus, the two names you mentioned. Here's my advice. I always try to point to the scriptures as to the best way to turn boys into men. And the best way to turn boys into men, very simply, is to restrain your impulses, do something adventurous, confront evil, stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves, and save yourself unto marriage and find one sexual partner for your life. That's where I lose a lot of people. And in fact, I believe marriage is a moral good for yourself and for society. I think we engage way too much in the flesh. We drink too much. We do too many drugs. We have hookup culture. We watch too much pornography. It's always about instant gratification, where we as men, we enjoy the difficult and the adventurous, but it should be for noble and righteous purposes. And so, insofar as someone's advocating for that, I'll agree with it. Otherwise, I would say that not so much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So other than your advice to young men, what do you think that us as a society could do to kind of steer young boys and Gen Z men to a better path than this very indulgent lifestyle of constantly getting girls and using women for...
Well, and can I just interrupt you for a second? It goes both ways. So on the other side, radical feminism tells girls to get as many sexual partners as you can, to go sow your oats. And basically what the feminists have done is every 19-year-old boy's dream, is that every girl is easy and accessible, and you don't have to work to go get sex. In the way it should be, a boy should have to become a very mature, very sophisticated person to get to the point of sex.
Yes, sir.
So the boy doesn't have to grow up to get what he wants anymore. And so a lot of this is on women who have basically become pseudo OnlyFans models, going around selling themselves for basically for no price whatsoever, because free sex will liberate you. Let me say this as gently as I can. Free sex drives young women insane. The more sexual partners a young woman has in college, the more likely she is to be clinically depressed on antidepressants, because sex for men is totally different than sex for women. Sex for women is emotional attachment, it is relational, it is not transactional, and is not purely physical. For whatever reason, the way men were designed and wired, sex, they could have sex with 9 people over 2 weeks, and it's okay, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. It's completely different for young women. And so we have told young women through this hyper-feminist model, go act like men, and a lot of people end up severely depressed. The final thing I'll say is this, is that education is incredibly feminine in its approach and also in its staffing. 75% of teachers before 8th grade are women. Nothing against women teachers, but this is a truism of life. Young men don't like taking orders from women. I'm sorry, it's just a fact of life. Young men need strong men to say, stop it, be better. And they will sit down and shut up when a man tells them.
Yes, sir.
And so, especially one that has their act together. So all that to say, we need more strong biblical men that have their act together to actually get involved in young men's lives, and women, for the love of everything holy and good. Stop giving your body away to every man that wants it and save yourself for marriage. 100. You are the supply of the problem. So it's both sides. If women were far more careful and pious with their sexual choices, men would follow. If all of a sudden the supply side of this equation would be like, actually, sorry, you have to date me seriously and get married to have sex with me. All of a sudden men would be like, well, I better get my act together. I better get a job. Men will react to the signal of sex quicker than women will. Because young men, especially 19, 20 years old, that's all they think about all day, sports and sex, and what they think about all day long. And for young women, they're like, what do you mean? Like, there's no way. Like, no, honestly, this is a hilarious true study. Harvard University put 20 men in a room alone, no phones, no TV, no newspapers, just stared at a wall. They put 20 women in a room. They asked the men, what did you think about? Well, I think about sports and sex the entire time. Okay. They asked women, what did you think about? They said, oh, we were replaying conversations that we had earlier in the last couple of days. It is very rare that a man will ever repay a conversation in the history. Like, we're very forward thinking, and finally, we are very macro. Men are macro thinkers, women are micro thinkers. That is why if you sit down with somebody on campus, that is a woman, she's probably talking about the grades in her class, her relationships, her friends, or things that people said to her. You sit down to a man on campus, he's talking about his crypto wallet, whether or not his DraftKings account is in the surplus or in a deficit, and whether or not, Donald Trump is going to take Greenland. The most macro thing imaginable. We are wired differently, and it's time for our educational system to reflect that. Thank you so much.
Also, can I get a hat?
Yes, you can. Thank you. Yes, next question. This is always the issue. I throw out the hats, and then they get thrown back at me to sign them. So we got to figure this. I got to sign them ahead of time. Yes, sir.
I got you. How you doing, Charlie? Everybody good? That's good. Okay, I got my phone out. That's cool for you? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna quote you real quick. You said, if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Are you gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean that is correct. Yeah.
That's correct. Okay, so can we both agree?
What was the context of what I said, though?
What was the context? I don't even want to get into DEI because your opinion on DEI, it doesn't really help it in this case. So, if the context between what you brought up was that you believe that
because they were being hired because they were black.
Okay, so can we both agree that every single pilot, whether black, white, whoever, has to go through FAA certification?
No, actually,
we can't.
New lawsuit shows that black pilots and female pilots have the standards being relaxed.
No, sir. Can we agree at the time of February 29th or 2023 when you said it at the time? No.
No, actually, I said it. That's why you don't know the context. Is that new lawsuits were showing that they were relaxing the standards for air traffic control and pilots in order to meet the standards.
The context of that was diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that have to do with hiring?
Everything. DEI definitionally is that we will hire more of a race versus a different race. So, for example, United Airlines said that they want 50% of their new pilots to either be women or black. Okay. Currently, just so you understand, it's like 8%. So they want to go from 8% to 50%.
Okay.
And every time DEI is implemented, every single time, the lowering of standards occurs. Every single time.
Lowering of standards?
Correct. So can I prove it to you? We both want excellence, right?
Okay.
If you and I said, hey, we want 50% of the new people going in the NBA are white.
Okay.
Would the NBA drop in its standard?
No.
No,
The National Basketball League?
no, if we said 50%, if we say by
50% of the NBA drops, and it was only white.
No, I
You're
said,
saying would the standard go down?
I'm not hearing what I'm saying. If 50% of all new people going in the NBA were white, by decree, would the quality of play of the NBA decrease?
Would the quality of play in the NBA decrease?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
No, if they're the same standard of basketball play.
Hold on, let's talk realistic.
What are you saying realistically? You're asking me is
75% of the NBA is black. 75%.
So does that mean white players are less better, or does that mean
Yes.
Whites are not as good at basketball as blacks. I mean,
All right, well,
we got some big.
everybody, calm down.
We got some big exceptions. I mean, we're very proud of Larry Bird. Okay.
No,
and we're very proud of Luka and Nikola. However, the point being, let's implement DEI in the NBA.
Okay.
If all of a sudden 50% of all the players have to be white, which means they have to say no to otherwise good black players.
There was a time where this happened, right?
Well, no,
Now you
of course, and
deflect.
the league wasn't as good. That's the
But
point.
no, you understand that there was a time where the exclusion of African American players
You're
was in the
deflecting.
NBA, right?
No, for sure. I acknowledge
So-
that. And the league got better as blacks were allowed in.
Did
because
it
it was.
get better, or did we just integrate ourselves in?
Well, hold on. No, but wait.
The players in the league averages around that time weren't worse. We just got better.
Hold on. Do you actually think that, why is it that 75% of the NBA is black?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was a certain point around 1965
No, why
where
is
a
it?
law
Answer the
passed where
question.
we can actually...
Why is it that 75% of the NBA is black?
Because we integrated into the league.
No, because the best players are allowed to play in the NBA.
Yes,
Actually,
sir!
the players in the NBA are European born.
Well,
They're not even African American.
I mean, a couple of them are. As I said, we're very
yes,
proud.
no, we're very integrated within sports, but what does that prove?
That proves that the NBA is not built on DEI; it's built on
No,
excellence.
the NBA isn't proof. So when you mention DEI, you're now saying that it's
you obviously don't know what DEI is. DEI.
I know what DEI is. If you're not giving me a proper explanation. of
DEI
what
is
it
racial quotas.
Racial quotas.
Yes. You've never heard of DEI before. So, do you know what a racial quota is? You have to have a certain amount of a certain race. That is what United Airlines did. We must get to 50% of our pilots to be black or women. Therefore, if the NBA said 50% of our players have to be white, I guarantee you, we could try to get as many Serbs and Croats as possible. It's not going to make the NBA the best league. Instead, the NBA has a policy of which the NBA and the FAA and the United Airlines should have the same policy. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It matters how good you are at what you do.
So what you're
Excellence
saying-
matters.
Wait. Okay. So what you're saying is, everybody's good. So what you're saying is the NBA
It's a great example
is
of.
a great example. No, it's a bad example because in the example that I gave you, I said when you say a black or female pilot might be less qualified because of DEI, what you're implying is that they didn't earn their spot.
Correct, they didn't, because that's what DEI does.
That's what you're implying.
Because you're there
But no,
because of the
but
quota,
does
not because of excellence.
Does DEI give you the opportunity because of who you are, or does it open up access?
No,
Because-
it gives it because of literally the color of your skin.
Charlie, you are quoted by saying that, guys,
Everyone knows the quote because it's true. When you hire
What's
somebody,
true?
It's true because they're there not because of their merit, but because of a racial quota. Why is it that only 8% of pilots right now for United Airlines are black or female?
it's actually 3%.
Oh, that proves my point even more.
And no, it doesn't. It's guys, DEI is the reason why they're not in these positions. But it's because they're listen.
Man, you are making no sense at all.
That's cool.
No, explain to me
Diversity,
what.
equity, and inclusion is the. Sorry, okay. Diversity,
Explain to
equity,
me
and
what a
inclusion-
racial
I'm trying
quota
to.
is.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is the reason as to why accesses are now open to certain races.
Hold on, can a black person not become a pilot before DEI?
What are you saying? What was it? Equal opportunity or was it equal access?
But
Was it equal opportunity? Was it equal access?
it's
Charlie?
equal. Both.
It's both.
Yes,
It's equal opportunity. And I could not go to college in 1964 with a free ride, free paid tuition, but you could, Charlie.
Hold on. First of all,
Are y'all just forgetting that the last 50 years?
oh, hold on. This is
That's
a
crazy.
How did that?
That's crazy.
How does that impact you? And wait, do you have a free ride right now?
Do I have a free ride right now?
Yeah.
I go to school.
Who pays your tuition?
Who pays my tuition?
Yeah.
I don't want to share that one.
You just said you had a free ride.
I don't want to.
Wait, hold on.
I said in 1964.
No. So it's 2025. Let's stay focused
So
on
in
today.
2025, even
Yeah.
with equal opportunity and
No,
open access,
it's not-
that's what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. It opened up access for people like me to get these opportunities.
But so someone has to pay for your college. Who's paying for it?
You said someone has to pay for my college?
Yeah. So taxpayers
Y'all
are paying for
my
your
college. Deposit the money into the bank right now.
Well, they
Show me your bank account. It's taxes.
wait.
Charlie Kirk, I'm talking to you.
This is a publicly funded
Charlie Kirk.
institution. But
The publicly funded institution,
You-
we are one of the, it's top three. ISU, University of Illinois Champaign, and the University of Illinois Chicago. 3 schools, universities that are getting funded more than other universities in Chicago. So yes, we do get funded more. Yes, I'm well more access to get a free ride. But what if I went to Chicago State University?
Right.
Would I get a free ride then?
I wouldn't recommend anyone goes to Chicago State.
Why
I mean,
not? Why not?
It's a terrible school.
Well, Charlie, are they funded?
I don't know the specifics. Because
You don't know the specifics?
It's not
Charlie,
exactly
Charlie, I
a
can tell you.
reputation of a great school.
I can tell you, Illinois State.
It is
gets
not a funding
Illinois
issue.
State gets
Okay.
92% of funding in the state of Illinois for universities, for public universities. Chicago State gets basically none, virtually none. So
okay, great.
what you're saying is, it was opened up accesses. What I'm presenting to you is that the access that I was allowed.
Okay, so what do you mean by access? What
do I mean by access?
How do black people not have access to a better life in America? What's preventing them?
What's preventing black people
Yes.
from having a better life in America?
Yes. What's preventing them?
Police, the government.
Hold on. No.
Please let me
How many unarmed black men die? How many unarmed black men die on the hands of police every year?
The unarmed
Nationally.
black men? Are you
Yes.
serious?
How many?
Charlie Kirk, we're talking about something.
How many? No, you just said police. How many unarmed
did.
black men die at the hands of police every year?
Did I say that is the reason
You
why
just
we're
said
prohibiting
police.
it? Policing is an issue.
You're
Our
right.
police
We
is
don't have
militarized.
enough police
The
on
normal
the streets of
the
black
normal
neighborhoods.
Police department is way more funded than our normal.
What is the number one cause of black death in Chicago?
Another Negro.
Other blacks killing
Another
blacks.
Negro.
Yes.
Another Negro.
No, prove me wrong.
Keep it
Prove me
real.
wrong. What's the number one cause of death of blacks in Chicago?
Where's your substantial
Another
evidence?
Negro.
Where's the evidence? The Chicago
evidence?
Police
Where's
Department.
your evidence?
Actually, you guys go look up.
Where's
It's
your
a
evidence? Everybody
website.
pull that up.
It's a website called
Come on, man.
HeyJackass.com.
Hey, I'm from Chi-Town.
Go to the website.
Chicago that are killing each other is the African
Go to
American.
the
Another
website. It's
Negro.
called HeyJackass.com. It's real-time Chicago crime statistics.
hey, but-
It's called HeyJackass.com.
Hey, guys,
It shows
guys,
a by
can we-
race of
can
how
we
many blacks are killed.
Can we clearly say that these are facts?
Yes.
Yes, y'all believe it.
Yes.
So, no, there it is right there. HeyJackass.com. Hey, right there.
Charlie,
By the way,
I'm not going to entertain that. That's honestly race
No,
bait.
that has a
Charlie,
direct live
listen.
crime feed to the
Charlie,
Chicago
bro,
Police
come on,
Department.
Jackass.com is not
Yes,
real, man.
it's right there. It's the crime stats, man. No,
What
tell me.
crime stats are you showing me? You're pulling up a site called Hey Jackass.
Yes, exactly, because you won't read it. It's right there, dude. It's the real-time vetted
Where
crime.
does it say it? Where does it say that it's African American? Look at that map.
It says right there.
Where does it say that it's
Scroll down. It
African-American
shows
doing
by
this?
race actually there.
Are you just seeing that it's
No,
people being killed? Or are
Tell
you
me.
saying it's
Right there, by
African-Americans?
race. Right there.
Bro, you going to FBI?
Boom. Owned.
Americans. Where are you seeing that at?
On the
Where's
website.
it going?
But tell me, who is killing the blacks in Chicago? Is it a bunch of kids from Hinsdale? Who's
being killed.
Who's killing the blacks from Chicago? A bunch of kids from Highland Park?
Like 22% Hispanic. That's
No.
very, very,
East
very
Garfield?
broad. Where
No.
are those locations at?
Who is
Garfield?
Where are those locations at?
Cabrini
East-
Green?
no.
You're saying East Garfield? You've never been to East Garfield
I'm from
in your
East
life.
Garfield.
Yes, I went
I'm
once
from
and I'll
East
never
Garfield.
return.
You're from East Garfield?
and Cabrini
You've never
Green.
been to East Garfield
And
in your
Cabrini
Tell me
life.
very
Green.
So
clearly.
we're saying
Who
these
is
broader
kill-
locations
And
is
Cabrini
these smaller
Green.
Who is
locations,
killing
these
the
broader
blacks in
communities,
Chicago?
these
Who
broader
is killing them?
communities Of 1,000 African Americans who you're taking statistics from communities.
Who is killing?
African
No,
Americans.
I want to have a conversation with you.
What did you
And
expect?
who is killing them?
Who is killing African Americans?
Yes.
Other
People are
Negroes.
killing people.
No. What race is killing them?
Why are y'all trying to act like African Americans are just solely murdered? People are killing people.
No. What
That's a
race
real
is
problem
killing?
we
Is it
have.
white people killing blacks or blacks killing
People are
blacks?
killing people, Charlie.
Okay, but hold on. What race is
You're
killing
saying
the
what
other
race
race?
is killing what race more? That does not matter.
It
What
does
is-
matter because it's
Oh
a
my
black on
God.
black problem.
It's a
And
black
blacks
on black
need to
problem,
solve
or is it
the
a
problem
crime
of black on black
Is it a
violence.
black on black problem or is it a crime problem?
It's a black on black problem that is a crime problem. Because I'll tell you what, if it was a bunch of kids from Deerfield coming in with guns, it would be a white problem.
It
but
is.
somehow, if it was a black on black problem, oh, it's a crime problem. It's systemic injustice. It's the police. It's
No,
not
what
enough
you're
funding.
saying is, Charlie, you're forgetting that these locations that you're bringing up are secluded by these races. So these races might have a easier time with policing, and yeah, they're gonna have nearly response time of 2 seconds.
Wait, it's the police's fault that so many blacks are killing other blacks?
Who just said that?
You did.
I said that?
Yes. No, but no,
Please.
I want you to tell me, why is it that black Americans are 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders?
Where can you show me that?
Again, it's FBI statistics. It's well
FBI
known.
statistics? Where can you show me that at? Can you give me
Ask
substantial
ChatGPT,
evidence?
ask Grok.
Why would I ask ChatGPT when ChatGPT has shown proven what?
Prove it again. Anyone near you
Well,
can show you the
ChatGPT has shown
stats, right?
proven
It's
data
right
that
there.
is-
Look, man.
Let's read it. 70% of offenders were African American. Wait, pull it back up. Hey guys, that's why you keep reading. Hey, you read more. You read a little bit more. Let's keep reading. Keep reading.
Don't
So this
abort!
comes from,
Abort! Abort! You killing us!
this is the year of 2021.
It hasn't gotten better. It's gotten worse, just so you know.
It hasn't got. Can you show me right now?
Oh my!
Why?
Abort!
Man, I'm just gonna try to. You got to ask me. So you got to admit, without the numbers, you do admit that blacks are the most violent portion of American society, right?
No.
I mean, the numbers. I mean, it's not even
Did you
close.
say we're the most violent?
Yes, the most murders, most rapes, most arsons, most carjackings, most thefts. It's not even
Oh
close.
my God, Charlie. Where are any of your facts to prove these hateful terms?
Man,
See, bro, y'all are pulling up something that is not.
it is
What are you saying?
bipartisan.
So just because she shows me a statistic from 73% of Chicago, that means every
No.
single African American.
No,
the
no.
The 13%. The 13% in the entire country.
No, I said the
is
most violent.
because
Not
this is-
every black is violent, but it's the most
You just
violent by
said we're
far.
the
It's not even
most
close.
violent.
Yes, you
You
are.
just said the-
blacks are by far the most violent racial group in America, and it's not even close. I want you to tell
Charlie,
me why.
What I want to debate with you.
No,
is,
I want you to tell me why. I'm super curious. Why is it that blacks are so violent per the percentage they are in the country? Why is that?
Charlie, I believe every race is violent.
No, actually, they're not. Actually, whites and Asians are way less violent
Did you
than
say
blacks.
whites
less.
Whites are less violent?
It's not even close,
It's
actually.
not even close?
Yes, whites are way less likely to go shoot up a schoolyard.
How many
They're-
school shootings have there been since this year started?
I mean, like a couple, but again, statistically, a white individual is far less
and
likely.
you want to bring up race, and our issue with that is what race do they come from?
No, but again, you have to look at the macro data. More,
I brought up
just so you
race.
kid. Yeah.
I brought up race.
Yes.
Yes!
But just to be clear, more kids in America die in crossfire gang shootings than in school shootings.
Facts, man.
Just so we are
What
clear.
are your statistics on that?
Oh my God, bro!
Are y'all serious?
Right there.
He's not gonna believe
He's showing me
us anyway,
statistics
man.
from Cook County, Illinois, and then you're now saying all across America. What are we talking
but
about?
again, so
I'm actually crowded with incompetence, and Charlie, for the sake of myself, Charlie, for the sake of myself, I really do appreciate the ability to debate with you, man.
I want you to think about what I asked you.
Okay, you mind if I have a hat?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah!
Thank you. That was an instant fact check right on air. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Hey, so I'm studying to be a future English educator, and I was really curious. I've seen a lot of different stances on this. I was kind of wondering what your stances on book banning are, especially if we should, like if it's a principle, like yes or no, when it should happen, and what kind of curriculum and content we should be banning.
If it's pornographic in nature for minors, then it has no place in a classroom.
Yes.
I'm very hesitant to ban any of it on colleges, to be honest. But if it's a 9-year-old, they have no business learning about in-depth sexual activity between anybody.
Yeah, and what is your opinion on like LGBTQ books that involve that?
No place in public education.
Not in elementary school, not in high school? Okay. Do you think that kind of derails the freedom of speech? Do you think that kind of...
Potentially. I do think, and that's a good question. What we have found is that these books tend to be a lot more about grooming a certain group of people towards a, let's just say LGBT whatever lifestyle than not. The freedom of speech contention is interesting.
Yeah.
But we now know, let's just take the transgenderism thing. Transgenderism is a social contagion. It is a fact. Meaning people are it's like a 10,000% increase in the last 5 years of people that self-identify as transgenderism. That means that it's an external exposure that has caused them to do that.
So you believe that like the exposure to these books is what is causing children to
Not
become
necessarily,
transgender?
potentially. I mean, I will also just say more pragmatically, I went to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in this state, and also high school. We never had a single discussion about gay this or gay that. And then when kids actually came out as gay, no one was bullied. It was respectful. We didn't need like all this different, curriculum. So I don't even know why it needs to exist. I think it becomes at least I would know this, and I could be wrong. If we had literature that had these elements as a 6th or 7th grader, it would have been a major distraction
Yeah.
away from core competencies of learning.
Okay. So, do you believe in collegiate book banning at all, or do you think we should have free access to research whatever we want?
I don't think CRT should be taught. I mean, what's taught and access are two different things.
Yeah.
But as an adult, you should be able to have access to whatever you see fit.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
it.
Can you sign a mag ahead
Yes,
for
of
me?
course. Absolutely. Next question. Disagreements, guys. Yep.
That's everybody. That's everybody in line.
Yeah. That's for her, not you. Yeah. Go ahead.
How are you today? How are you today? All right, so recently Trump has imposed like aggressive reciprocal tariffs on a lot of other nations. And so, I mean, I'm pretty conservative, but I have some doubts and I feel like they're a little aggressive. So how can I, as a conservative, trust Trump's economic plan throughout the long term, even though they may be raising prices and possibly cause other issues?
It's a great question. First of all, the market's back up today, which is good. And I say that the market's not everything, but it's been down the last couple of days, which is a real thing. Look, tariffs are a huge risk. They're a huge risk. I think they're one worth having. If I were to predict, I can't see the future. I think Trump is going to start cutting really good non-tariff deals with Japan, with South Korea, with Canada, Mexico. And I think he's going to start marching and turning the entire world against China. And that I completely support. If there is one trade war that needs to happen right now, it is the decoupling of us importing so much stuff from the Chinese Communist Party. And that might be a little bit clumsy. People might pay a little bit more. I don't know how that's going to work politically, but we cannot be a nation and be subservient to the Chinese Communist Party making critical manufacturing, goods, vitamin C, so on and so forth.
And do you think that prices will eventually go down? And how do you think that these tariffs will affect, like...
It's a great question. So actually, here's the good news. Prices are going to go down in the short term because the price of oil is plummeting right now, which is great, which means that you guys will pay less at the pump. Oil went from $70 to now $53 a barrel in the last couple of days, which is amazing. You guys will see that very soon. But I don't want to lie to people. Prices might go up in certain sectors. And I don't love that. I think long term they will go down. And just so everyone's clear, you guys are about to get no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. You guys are going to get a massive tax cut this year, which I think will make the tariffs go over a little bit easier.
And I've also heard things on social media saying that these tariffs will actually not bring higher quality jobs into the U.S. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I disagree. There's a lot of guessing. So I'm not going to spend my time here guessing because we are embarking on the largest tariff experiment of the modern economic order. I think it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, I know President Trump will pivot out of it. But more importantly, people voted for it. And I think there's something even more disturbing when people say they're going to do something and they don't do it. People said, Trump, please bring back manufacturing. Please bring up our wages. And you got to give him enormous credit for the courage to do that, even when the market goes down, even when people are going after him. I think that's something that is definitely worthy of notice, for sure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, wait, I have my next question.
Really quick, because we got a long line.
Oh, sorry, can I make it really quick?
Okay.
This is just a really random question, but was Doge responsible for cutting funding to the National Weather Service?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
They've cut a lot, so I'd have to, yeah. Okay.
Okay, and do you think that is not
said you had
slightly,
one more.
in the slightest bit problematic because they've been having employee issues with them. They've been struggling to issue tornado warnings in times of severe weather outbreaks, and they've also not been able to release as many weather balloon soundings, which provide important upper air data to models that help us provide better forecasts.
Maybe, I don't know about it, but I mean, look, they cut a lot. Sometimes when you cut too fast, you have to, take a step back. I would prefer a incoming administration that cuts first and asks questions later and then fixes problems if they find stuff they cut that otherwise might not have been necessary.
Am I out of time or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You said you had one question.
Yeah. Thank you. Next question. Great.
All right, my question to you is aimed at Trump's pro-life perspective on the abortion issue, and that is, why do you believe in pro-life policies and the pro-life movement, but only up until the point of birth? why does pro-life not continue to extend past birth into the child's life and supporting free school lunches and extended maternal leave and adding the SNAP benefits to help reduce the number of children in poverty? And why do you support pro-life only until the child is born?
Well, everything we support is pro-life. That's why we want more police on the streets so that crime goes down. We also want a border to make sure that when that kid grows up, they're actually part of a country. We want tax cuts so that those families can actually feed their kids. To those elements, though, I think there's something disturbing when we look to the government to feed our kids. Now, in necessary in times that, to feed kids, we should step in. But is government really the first step to try to make sure a kid has a meal?
But is that not,
and just so we are
about verbatim quotes from those, from that Bible and Jesus that you're always talking about?
Yes, well, hold on.
Feed the hungry and clothe the poor and support everybody.
That's a third and fourth important point.
Yeah.
That's where I believe Christian charities and churches should step up and feed and to clothe and to be a helping hand, not government. In fact, we used to be a country that we had a lot more private charities going and helping people in need. In fact, I would make a contention, if the government cut all of its social welfare, every church would step up to make sure that no kid went hungry in this country and that no kid would die of starvation. We are a very generous people. And what we have found in Europe, when the government grows to such an extent, private charity basically goes under. Also, I do want to make sure it's clear, child starvation is not an issue in this country. 5 to 10% of kids experience what they call food insecurity. That's like a very opaque term, but 50% of our children are obese or overweight. Yeah. We do not have a child starvation issue. We have a child obesity problem. We're feeding our kids too much of the bad food, not too little of food that they need.
Yeah.
Fine. So
those two issues do go hand in hand because lower income families are not able to afford.
See, that's actually not true.
Higher nutrition or the more nutritious, healthier foods that
they make a conscious choice to buy bad stuff. Study after study shows
that bad stuff is cheaper and they can get more food that way. They can't afford to eat fancy, local, organic Caesar salads from Whole Foods. They can afford to eat a sandwich off the dollar menu because they only have like $2.
Right. So again, study after study shows that that's actually not true, that lower income families actually prefer the worst food and they've actually grown largely addicted to it. They become very...
To that end, I mean, it's not so much of an opinion, but there are people in this country who do die every winter, die of exposure because they are homeless and shelters don't have enough room or capacity and they haven't anywhere warm to sleep and they die of exposure. So with that in mind, would you support increased funding for homeless shelters in the country?
No. Homeless shelters are not the issue. When homeless die on the streets of Chicago, it's because they do not want to go inside. They're told repeatedly by police and other organizations. There are churches that will put them in, gymnasiums that will put them in, but they decide to stay on the streets. Funding is not the problem of homelessness. Drug usage, mental issues, and also just a overly liberated view of who actually gets to live on the streets is the issue. Thank you very much. I got to get to the next question. Right. Thank you.
Before I start, my dad's your biggest fan. I was wondering if I could get a signed hat for him. And then also, Democratic primaries. I'm a big sports guy, so I'm excited for it this year because Stephen A. Smith's probably going to be running. And I
won't start for a couple of years, but yes.
No, but out of all the people you can see running, like AOC, Newsom, even J.B. Pritzker, who would you pick to, win the primaries?
I would love J.B. Pritzker to be the nominee, I'll tell you what.
Well, I would be a big fan of J.B. Pritzker going, because I want to see Stephen A. Smith just make fun of him the whole time, kind of like Vivek Ramaswamy saying to Chris Christie, oh, you graduated from Golden State Corral or whatever he said. But I do think, though, if Stephen A. Smith were to win the primaries and you put him up against a guy like J.D. Vance, I think Stephen A. Smith's going to, not to be mean, wipe the floor with him.
We'll see what happens. You might be right.
I'm just saying, I don't agree with a lot of his sports takes. I'm a big Richard Sherman guy. I love his sports takes.
What is happening?
But I'm just telling you, this guy can talk about politics. He kind of isn't your conventional, That's just my take.
Cool.
Thanks for the hat, though.
Thanks, man.
How's it going, Charles? How you doing? I've got a question for you on data science. You told a senior student earlier in high school that AI is going to take over millions of jobs in the coming future here.
It already
even
is,
this year. Some of them, yeah. But there is still critical fields that definitely won't have AI taking over anytime soon. Blue collar, zero threat for the most part. I mean,
Now,
look at the
robotics is growing way quicker than you realize.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a master's in data science, but robotics isn't growing that fast. But
I've seen stuff, man. I don't
I've
know.
also, believe me, I've seen stuff probably more than you have.
Well, so how many humans are working? Oh, that's funny. How many humans are working in the Tesla plants?
I mean, I don't know.
They're fully
I don't
robotic,
go
so-
and count them, but
No, but they're fully
I mean,
robotic.
there's been work lines that have been industrialized for years. I mean, look at Ford plants. How many people are working there? So I feel like
More than
there's still
Tesla, but yeah.
Claim to do that and move
well, there's
up, man.
there's
That's
still
crazy.
plenty of labor to be around. The jobs that are going to be cut are sort of like middle management jobs and also email sending jobs. Anything
to
that's
say the
already been
same
done
thing
already
then.
with ChatGPT and LLMs. That's already, the impact has already been had. The tools that'll come, I mean, you said earlier with like doctors, that's a really poor example because it's more of a force multiplier than it is something that'll take jobs. It's assisting people in getting readings, but there does still need to be a doctor there in the event that a decision needs to be made.
We all was in a disagreement. there.
Yes, but I mean, just to use the example, a level down is someone who looks at scans. They're not necessary anymore, right?
I mean, you still need to have someone to look at.
Of course,
the
I mean,
results.
again,
you're not looking at scans, but you're looking at results. now,
Not
so-
every job will be taken, but
Well,
I guess
not even that many. Is the
Yeah, I
thing.
mean,
Like,
I completely
you got
disagree.
you got to pare down the amount of jobs you think
Okay.
are going to be taken for sure.
Well, so how many people do you think are in mid-level management in this country?
I mean, a fair amount.
Yeah, it's like 70% of all the jobs.
I wouldn't say so.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, for example, let's
You
just
probably
take
get some stat, but
let's just take Brown University. I happen to know this because I was just doing a study on it. 4,000 employees, 1,000 are professors, 3,300 are mid-level management.
okay.
That's I mean, across the board. And so, yeah, I mean, look, you might be right, you might not. I think AI is way more powerful than we give it credit for. I think it's advancing at a rate that is going to displace a lot.
Diminished returns. Once you get to the final 10%, the last 10% is 90% of the effort.
I actually hope you're right.
I am right. I'm telling you, man. Like, I've done the research. I've worked in the field.
Okay, yeah. I mean, do you think AI will get to a place of singularity?
Absolutely not. And even if it does, it doesn't matter. I mean, are you familiar with set theory?
No.
Okay, so set theory is basically like there's a Venn diagram, right? So there's a Venn diagram of human intelligence. And AI is only capable of learning everything that humans already know. It needs our data to be able to make insights.
So
right?
that's, I mean, again, so explain to me though, but once AI can do physics itself,
It can. Simulations.
I know, but it can get beyond human comprehension of physics.
I don't believe so, no. Because
Okay, well-
it can only do things that we understand.
Again, you
It-
might be right. People like Elon and Altman disagree with you. So
Okay. Well, I mean, they also have a financial interest in
no,
saying
again,
so,
again,
right?
I hope you're right. I hope you end up
Right. So we want more jobs to stay.
No, I
I'm
know,
telling
but-
you. I'm telling you that it'd probably be in the best interest not to sow fear into coming generations that AI.
No, it's not
is a
okay.
scary
But
thing.
but the vast majority of people that are going to college are studying things that will be replaced. Again, the young man who came up here, what did he say? Well, my mom sends emails at State Farm.
Okay, I'd probably say yeah,
Yeah.
that's a bad
I mean, that
example in
literally-
his regard. But,
but
for
there-
him, you don't know what did he say he was going to go to college for?
He said liberal arts.
Okay, well,
That's
That is
yeah.
not
okay,
a
well,
job.
art isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Image generators are kind of iffy. So.
That's interesting. I don't know if I agree. Okay,
You
thank
think
you.
they're good?
I think they're fast.
Are you doing a Turning Point merch with AI now?
Not yet.
Okay, you gonna get there?
Oh yeah.
All right. Can I get a hat for the
Smart.
field
Yeah.
behind me?
Yeah. Smart commentary. Thank you, man. I really hope you're right. I hope that the AI accelerationism isn't nearly as bullish as people think. Thank you.
Hi, my name's AJ, and the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is I found some of the things going on with the mass deportations a little concerning. Just most notably with the recent deportation of the man Abrego Garcia. Because
It's like the minute we start moving up, somebody.
I want
Yes.
to make it clear that I don't think that we should have dangerous illegal immigrants in the country. Dangerous illegal immigrants absolutely should be deported out of the country, but the thing that concerns me is the lack of due process in the execution of it, especially with using something like the Alien Enemies Acts which in the past has been used to do things like put Japanese people in internment camps during World War II. So I think that, especially with how we saw the illegal deportation of Abrego Garcia by the Trump administration, that worries me that we're going to return to a slippery slope where something like those internment camps could happen again. And I think that that's a problem.
Got it. I hear you. I get this question a lot. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Garcia had a notice for deportation. You know that, right?
Well, actually,
he's had multiple court dates.
He actually had a protection from deportation that he was issued in 2019.
Which, of course, the government can release.
Those protections aren't granted if he's proven to be...
Not under the Alien Invasion Act. That's the key, right? So if you use the INA, those protections are lifted.
And that's exactly the issue I have with
fair
that.
enough. I don't think it's an issue, but it's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that being able to...
Give me that thing to sign so you guys can calm down. That's the worst picture I've ever seen. Wait till you see this thing. I've said 3 times. You see, everybody, this is why we need AI art. This is terrible. Grok would do a much better job. Final point, yeah.
I just think that the having the ability to deport any person that we want without due process is extremely dangerous because being able, not giving people due process, that's something that's enshrined in the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, it's questionable though if they're an enemy invader. And the Supreme Court has just sided with President Trump.
And that's exactly the problem I have with the deportation of Abrego Garcia, is because there's no proof of him being an MS-13 member. There's a shaky at most witness that has no actual physical proof, and he was also wearing Bulls attire. And I don't see how that should qualify him to be stripped of his life and his liberty when he's here legally on a work visa.
Fair enough. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Next point.
Thank you so much.
Not even close. Do you want me to dance to that or something, or you waited in line to do that?
That was a disagreement. All right.
Everybody, do not take hormones.
That was a disagreement.
Makes you do weird stuff. Do not do that. Hormone replacement therapy is very bad.
Freaking child.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kirk. First off, thank you for coming to Illinois State. I had a couple questions in the spirit of being at Illinois State, a school known for its education. You already touched on some things about the role of college moving forward in regards to AI, STEM. What about the role of an educator, someone who, like myself, is trying to teach secondary education in high school?
It's a great question. You know, I will do this. I have a very strong opinion of what education is. Yep. Are you studying to become a teacher?
History education teacher.
Awesome, good for you. Why don't you tell me what education is in its ideal and practice?
So I think that's 2 things. A little bit closer? Yeah, so I think that's 2 things. In regards to traditional college, what it's normally been is the burden of proof. Whether you're taking a math class or you're taking a history class, it's all about providing evidence to support an answer, right? Identifying the difference between speculation and evidence. So there's the issue of burden of proof, which, again, that might change with AI and new technologies. In regards to a high school student, I myself, as a history teacher, the first question that I should ask myself is, am I someone worth learning from? I think we already have this pipeline of high school to college back to high school. And some really competent teachers are probably capable of teaching students with that amount of experience. I don't think that it's common, probably for everyone. And I enjoy having life experience outside of that. Outside of that, the role of educators to develop competent and capable students.
Great. I don't disagree with that. I think there's another thing to that. Do you think educators should be more like carpenters, meaning they're making students into something, or more like gardeners, letting kids grow?
The role of an apprentice, right?
So, not even just metaphorically. Like, do you think that it's your job to turn a student into a specific thing, or to let kids grow into what they naturally are?
The latter.
Grow into what they naturally are.
The latter, and
yeah.
also support that growth where it can be supported.
Do you think it's your role as a teacher to point them towards a certain conclusion?
No, but I think it's my job to help them identify, burden of proof, right?
Yeah.
Identify the difference between.
That's where we disagree. I think, of course, it's the role of a teacher to point towards something.
Okay.
And that's fine. We're just going to disagree. We believe, as conservatives generally, that you have three truth claims: the good, the true, and the beautiful.
Yeah.
And you should try to point a child towards those things. You should try to read things that enrich and nourish their soul and their being towards an appreciation of the elevated things.
Yeah.
It's a difficult concept because none of that is probably talked about here at Illinois State, right? It's much more technical and mechanistic, and a German view of education.
Exactly. It's normal, named after the German.
Yeah, exactly. Where we have a classical view of education, much more Athenian in nature.
Yeah.
Where we want
Alexander the Great to Aristotle, Aristotle to Plato. That apprentice-student.
Actually, it was Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's okay. Yeah. That's.
Look, I've already taken a couple L's this
sorry.
week. So,
Jeez, what happened?
Sparring. Smart heavyweight, but
awesome, good. And that's fine. It's not a matter of disagreement. We think the teacher should challenge and elevate the student towards the good, and that a teacher should be unafraid to tell a student you're totally wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
And then and to try to get them to naturally get towards an endpoint of a certain conclusion. If, for example, if a teacher has, if they come to the conclusion, well, if my students believe whatever they want to believe at the end of this, it is what it is. We don't
There's
think
a lot of flaws in that. Yeah.
We don't think the teacher's done their job.
100%.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Have a great day. All right, we will go another 20 or 30 here, and then I got to go to U of I.
Oh, come on.
We don't like U of I, right? We don't like that.
You don't like Hershey either.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Hi, Charlie. I just had a quick question for you. I see you debating people from the far left who support transitioning their kids and abortion, but I've never seen you debate anybody from the far right. Someone like Nick Fuentes, who is a conservative Catholic influencer, who has a large following on X and Rumble, and he has asked many times to debate you. And I just wanted to ask you point blank, why won't you debate Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, that's right. The answer is no. Thank you. Next question.
Good answer, Chuck.
Hey, Charlie, thanks for being here. First off, a lot of us, especially, I'm a Catholic, so I know you're a Protestant, but thank you for.
I have deep appreciation for Catholicism. I hope you know that. What? My wife is baptized Catholic.
So thanks for your contributions. We appreciate you spreading conservatism, especially around college campuses. We need it the most. We're the future. However, I noticed Ben Shapiro said that he remembers you asking for donations at the David Horowitz Freedom Center early on in your political career. Are these donors the reasons you won't talk about Israel's implication and negatively influencing our government when there are significant examples when we talk about Epstein, the Pollard affair, and America's involvement in the Middle East and the assassination of JFK?
Well, no. I mean, first of all, I think there's a lot of evidence to show that Epstein was either a Saudi agent or a Mossad agent.
Right.
So, I mean, no, it's not because of donors, I will say or not say anything. In fact, I actively lost donors after October 7th because I didn't speak out enough. No, I don't know what your question is. As far as JFK,
Why is it such a taboo topic, and it seems that
Which
we
one?
can't really talk about Israel's implication in these issues?
Well, which one? Epstein?
I would specifically say JFK is super important.
Well, we don't know for certain Israel's role, right? We know in the JFK files, Mossad intelligence was listed a lot.
Right.
But there wasn't necessarily a smoking gun. I'm open to any theory.
Not
on
necessarily a
JFK.
smoking gun, but when you look at what he wanted to do as a president, he was looking into their nuclear program with Ben David Gurion, and they actually lied to JFK, and they made a fake plant that they showed him, and JFK was pissed about that. So that's why he wanted to continue his research and his involvement in looking at that stuff. And it's also known that he wanted to register AIPAC as a foreign agent not as our ally, but as a foreign agent. And it's common knowledge, if you look into it, that his brother also wanted to do the same thing. And they both were killed, unfortunately. Rest in peace to both of them. But why is it so taboo? Why can't we actually look into these things? It seems that if
We should look into any foreign
and we should be
government.
honest instead of just calling people names and shutting it down right away. Because I think if you really look into it, Israel is not our greatest ally, in my opinion. I think they're one of our enemies, unfortunately. And I know that's a very deep conversation. That's a long thing. But we've sent over $20 billion to them since the start of 2025. And I think we just really need to focus on investing into our own country. And we need to, well, first off, I disagree with Israel's position even in the Middle East. I don't think it's biblical. There's popes that have disagreed with their stance. They chose not to support the founder of Zionism, Theodore Herzl. And so why are we almost forced into supporting this when I think there's plenty of evidence on the other side? I just think it should be more of a conversation, and we need to respect both sides more. I think it's a little bit one-sided, especially in the media. And what is your opinion? I'll let you speak.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Protestant, so I have a completely different view of Israel. We believe that Israel mentioned in the New Testament is not, we don't believe in replacement theology.
Do you believe Israel is the church, or do you believe it's
No.
a actual state?
I believe it's an actual state, as prophesied in the book of Daniel.
But Jesus calls Israel the church.
No, he never used the word church.
The church, Israel is the people of God. It's the people that are Christians. We are part of Israel.
No. So that's inferred in something Paul said. Where did Jesus say that exactly?
I can't give a
Yeah, 'cause
specific
he said-
example,
he
and maybe
didn't-
I'm wrong too.
He didn't say it. That's fine.
But Israel
So-
is the church. We are the church.
Okay, that's a theological interpretation.
Okay.
Of which we as Protestants don't hold.
Right.
I can't imagine you want to spend our time doing theological
No,
debates.
not at all. I'm not ready for that, so.
However, I want you to understand my perspective as an evangelical is very different.
Right.
We believe the nation of Israel was prophesied to be reconstituted after the destruction of the temple in, I think, AD 70, right? So the temple is destroyed, and for 2,000 years, Jews were scattered, and it says very clearly.
But that was because they disobeyed God, and He scattered them instead of holding together.
No, I know
their-
why it
their
happened,
homeland.
right?
Okay,
But it
right.
says that I will bring you as disparate parts back into your promised land. So we believe that is a
Right.
fulfillment of prophecy.
Okay.
Catholics don't hold that view, and that's fine.
Right.
But that is definitely a component of this. I want to just.
So what about specifically
Well-
like what JFK wanted to do and the
I don't
nuclear
know. I don't know enough about it. You might be right. I'll have to look into it.
Do you think it is a little bit one-sided as far as they seem to get favor over when someone tries to criticize Israel?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if the
And their influence?
I just find it so interesting. Do you really think that
I'm not blaming all Jews. I'm
No,
not saying
I'm not.
Jews are